Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt like life was playing a game with you? Like it keeps throwing someone or something back into your life, no matter how far you try to run from it. These moments aren't coincidences, they're patterns. Patterns we often overlook because we're too busy, too distracted, or maybe too afraid to acknowledge them. Life has an uncanny way of guiding us towards certain people or experiences, often through repeated encounters or moments that feel strangely familiar. These patterns are not random. They are life's way of telling us to pay attention, to look closer. Think about it. How many times have you met someone only to cross paths with them again unexpectedly? Or found yourself in situations where the same name, the same story, or the same feeling resurfaces? It's as if life is weaving a thread through different chapters, ensuring you don't miss the message it's trying to deliver. We tend to rationalize these moments, calling them coincidences or mere accidents of chance. But what if they aren't? What if these recurring events are signals guiding us towards something or someone that we're meant to connect with? They push us to look beyond the surface, beyond our immediate logic, and into something deeper. The truth is, the patterns aren't there to frustrate us, they're there to awaken us. They persist because we're not yet seeing what we need to see or acting on what we need to act upon. Life doesn't throw the same lesson at you repeatedly for no reason. It's a persistent teacher, and the recurring presence of certain people or situations is often its way of telling you this matters. Don't ignore it. Is everything. You can meet someone who feels like the perfect fit, yet somehow it doesn't work out. It's tempting to think that it wasn't meant to be, but often it's not the person or the connection that's wrong, it's the timing. Life has a rhythm of its own, and no matter how much we try to control it, things come together only when both sides are truly ready. Readiness isn't just about circumstances, it's about growth. Sometimes we meet people who are exactly what we need, but we're not in the right place emotionally, mentally, or even spiritually to fully embrace what they bring into our lives. Or maybe it's the other way around, they aren't ready yet. And so, life separates you, giving both of you the space to grow, to learn, and to heal in ways that prepare you for the moment when your paths cross again. But timing is also tricky. It requires patience, and patience is hard when something feels so right. We question why things aren't working when all the signs seem to point to this being the right connection. What we fail to realize is that life doesn't operate on our schedules or our desires. It operates on alignment, on bringing two people together when both are ready to create something lasting, something meaningful. And so these repeated encounters, the way life keeps reintroducing certain people, aren't just chance. They're life's way of testing whether the time is finally right. If it isn't, the connection will fade, but not for good. If it's meant to be, life will keep circling you back to each other until the readiness on both sides aligns perfectly. Only then can the connection truly flourish. Acknowledging something that feels destined is one thing, but acting on it is an entirely different challenge. Often fear stands in the way, fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, or fear of getting hurt. It's easier to convince ourselves that it's safer to stay put, to let things unfold on their own without taking risks. But here's the thing, life doesn't reward passivity. When something or someone truly matters, it requires courage to step forward and claim it. Courage doesn't mean the absence of fear, it means choosing to act despite it. It's about recognizing that the discomfort of taking a leap is far less painful than the regret of letting something slip away. Yet we often hesitate, second-guessing whether the connection is real, whether the timing is right, or whether we're strong enough to handle the outcome. This hesitation isn't unusual, it's human. But if we allow it to control us, we risk missing the very thing life is trying so hard to place in front of us. Life keeps presenting opportunities, and each one is a chance to overcome our own barriers. Those recurring moments, those second and third chances, are life's way of nudging us toward action. They whisper, this is worth it. Don't let it pass you by. But action requires effort. It demands that we move beyond our comfort zone, set aside our doubts, and take that first step, no matter how uncertain the path ahead may seem. And when we do act, we begin to see how everything starts to fall into place. It's as if life was waiting for us to meet it halfway. The connections that once seemed fleeting or impossible suddenly feel within reach. The moment we summon the courage to act, we unlock the potential for something extraordinary to happen. It's not easy, but it's always worth it. Some connections defy explanation. They aren't random, and they don't fade away like fleeting moments. Instead, they persist, pulling us back into their orbit, no matter how far we stray or how much time passes. These connections feel different, almost inevitable, as though they're written into the very fabric of our lives. It might not always be obvious at first. These people may come into our lives quietly without fanfare, or they might enter with intensity, leaving a lasting impression. But the truth is, they're not meant to be a passing chapter. They reappear in different forms, under different circumstances, and sometimes in ways that catch us off guard. It's life's way of telling us this isn't over. There's more to this story. These connections often face challenges, distance, miscommunication, timing, or even personal growth that is yet to be achieved. But no matter the obstacle, they remain resilient. They bend but don't break, as if bound by something greater than chance. It's not about fate forcing something to happen. It's about two lives that are so deeply intertwined that they naturally find their way back to each other. When you look closely, these connections are marked by a sense of familiarity and understanding. Even after time apart, they pick up as though no time has passed. These moments remind us that some bonds are unshakable, rooted in something we may not fully understand but feel deeply. They teach us that life doesn't bring people back into our world without reason. The inevitability of these connections doesn't mean they happen without effort. They require patience, growth, and mutual recognition of their significance. But their persistence is a testament to their importance, a gentle yet constant reminder that some people are meant to walk beside us, no matter how winding the path may be. Fascinating how life often has a way of working behind the scenes, connecting dots that we can't see in the moment. Sometimes the journey we're on feels chaotic, with people entering and exiting our lives in seemingly random ways. But when we take a step back and look at the bigger picture, we realize that everything has been leading us somewhere, specifically to certain people who play an irreplaceable role in our story. These connections, the ones that keep showing up no matter how much time or distance comes between you, are not coincidences. They're deliberate. They're life's way of steering you towards something significant, something you can't afford to overlook. But the process isn't always straightforward. There will be moments of doubt, frustration, and confusion when things don't align the way you expect. You might drift apart or lose touch, thinking the connection has run its course. Yet somehow it comes back stronger, clearer, and more undeniable than before. This recurring cycle isn't meant to test your patience, it's meant to teach you. It's a reminder that the people who are meant to be in your life will keep finding their way to you, no matter how many detours you take. These are the connections that survive challenges, outlast misunderstandings, and endure the passage of time. They're woven into your life so intricately that no matter how far you go, you'll always be pulled back toward them. What makes these connections so profound is their ability to grow with you. As you evolve, so do they. And when you're finally ready, when you've both done the work and arrived at the right moment, they fit together effortlessly, as if they were always meant to. It's as though life has been preparing you all along, ensuring that when the time comes, you won't miss the opportunity to fully embrace what's in front of you. It's not about forcing something to happen or chasing what isn't ready. It's about trusting the process, knowing that what's meant for you will always find its way back. These connections are inevitable, not because of fate alone, but because they are rooted in something real, something that no amount of time or distance can erase. You reflect on life. You begin to notice that certain people leave an indelible mark, even if their presence is brief or their timing feels off. These aren't just ordinary encounters, they're significant in ways that are difficult to articulate. Over time, life has a way of reinforcing their importance by weaving them back into your story over and over again. It's as though the universe is saying, pay attention, this person matters. What's remarkable is how these connections defy logic. No matter how far you drift, how much time passes, or how many other experiences you have, they keep resurfacing. You might see their name unexpectedly, hear a song that reminds you of them, or bump into them at the most unlikely moments. These aren't random occurrences, they're signals, subtle reminders that something unfinished still lingers between you. It's easy to brush these moments off as coincidence, but deep down, you know they mean more. These recurring intersections are a way of showing us that some relationships are too significant to be left to chance. They demand attention because they hold the potential to shape our lives in ways we can't yet understand. It's not just about nostalgia or familiarity, it's about recognizing that certain people are tied to our growth, our happiness, and even our purpose. What makes these connections even more powerful is their resilience. They can endure long periods of silence, misunderstandings, and even conflict. And yet, when you reconnect, it feels as though no time has passed. There's a sense of familiarity and ease, as though the connection was simply waiting for both of you to come back to it. These moments reveal how deeply intertwined you are, no matter how far life pulls you apart. But the key is realizing that these persistent connections aren't accidental, they're opportunities. They're invitations to explore something meaningful, to dig deeper into what this person brings to your life and what you bring to theirs. They challenge you to move beyond hesitation, to stop second-guessing, and to embrace what keeps coming back into your orbit. Some people are meant to stay, no matter how long it takes for you to fully realize it. Life feels like a series of missed opportunities. You meet someone who feels significant, but circumstances, timing, or hesitation cause you to part ways. Yet, despite the distance, they keep reappearing, sometimes in obvious ways, like bumping into them in an unexpected place, and other times more subtly, like through a memory, a mutual connection, or a moment that reminds you of them. These recurring encounters are not random. They're life's way of creating opportunities for you to confront what you may not have fully embraced before. When something or someone keeps coming back into your life, it's a reminder that unfinished business remains. Life has a way of bringing us face to face with what we're meant to address, no matter how much we try to avoid it. Sometimes it's a lesson you haven't yet learned. Other times it's a bond you haven't yet allowed yourself to fully explore. Either way, the repetition is not accidental, it's intentional. But these moments aren't just about reflection, they're about action. Each time someone reappears in your life, it's an opportunity to make a different choice, to see things from a new perspective, or to finally take the step you were too afraid to take before. The repetition isn't a punishment for what didn't happen in the past. It's a gift of second, third, or even fourth chance to get it right. What's powerful about these recurring connections is how they reveal our own growth. Each time they come back, you're not the same person you were when you first met them. You've learned, experienced, and evolved. And so have they. These moments of reconnection allow you to meet each other again, not as the people you were, but as the people you've become. Life doesn't waste energy. It doesn't repeatedly place the same person in your path without a purpose. These encounters are a call to pay attention, to trust the process, and to understand that some connections are bigger than timing or circumstance. They're about recognizing that some people are meant to be a part of your story, no matter how long it takes for the pieces to finally fall into place. There's something powerful about the way life aligns certain people with you, as if they are intrinsically tied to your journey. These connections, the ones that seem destined to be a part of your life, don't fade away easily. In fact, they tend to grow stronger over time, even when circumstances push you apart. No matter how far you wander, no matter how many detours you take, they find their way back into your life when the time is right. It's as though they are always there, waiting for the moment when both of you are ready to embrace what's meant to happen. These are the relationships that you can't shake off, no matter how hard you try. They feel inevitable, as if life itself is pulling you toward them. You might not always understand why or how these people keep showing up, but deep down you know there's something meaningful in the connection. It's more than just chance. It's something larger than you, something that will continue to resurface until you recognize its importance. These connections often grow stronger through adversity, through time apart, or even through conflict. They don't rely on surface-level interactions or fleeting moments. They're built on something deeper, something that outlasts temporary misunderstandings or challenges. When life reintroduces these connections, it's an opportunity for both people to reevaluate, to grow, and to see each other through a new lens, one shaped by everything that has happened since the last time you met. In a way, these connections are inevitable, because they're based on a deeper truth, something that transcends timing or circumstances. They're meant to happen, regardless of when or how, They're part of your story, part of your growth, and part of the journey that life has mapped out for you. And while you may not always understand why they keep resurfacing, you begin to realize that some connections are too significant to let go of, no matter how many times life tests them. They will always find their way back to you when the time is right because they are meant to stay. There's an undeniable sense of purpose when it comes to the people who are meant to be in your life. While many of the connections we make throughout our journeys are temporary, there are those that feel as though they were destined to happen. You might not realize it in the moment, but life has a way of circling back to these people time and time again until the connection is finally seen for what it truly is. And when you look closely, you'll realize that no matter how much time has passed or how much distance there's been between you, there's always an underlying pull, a quiet certainty that you're meant to be together in some capacity. What's most fascinating about these kinds of connections is their consistency. They aren't the kind that simply fade away. They reappear at crucial points in your life, often when you're ready to recognize their significance. It's as though there's a quiet agreement between the universe and your own soul. This person is part of your journey, and you can't ignore them forever. Even if you try to resist, these connections will show up again, in some way or form, because they are tied to a purpose greater than what you can immediately understand. Over time, these relationships reveal themselves to be more than just chance encounters or fleeting moments. They are the ones that withstand challenges, the ones that endure misunderstandings and distance. These connections don't rely on ideal circumstances or perfect timing. They are built on something much deeper, something that persists through everything. And no matter how many times life pushes you apart or tests the strength of that bond, they will always find their way back to you because they are not just temporary or conditional, they are essential. There's a profound beauty in these inevitable connections because they teach you something invaluable about life itself. They show you that there are people who will be by your side through thick and thin, who will remain a constant even when everything else seems uncertain. Life may throw challenges at you, may introduce moments of doubt or fear, but these connections are unwavering. They exist to remind you that sometimes, no matter how long it takes or how much you resist, what is meant for you will always find its way back into your life. The idea that some connections are meant to be is often hard to grasp, especially when the path to them is not straightforward. Many of us spend so much time looking for perfect circumstances, perfect timing, or the perfect person, that we miss the subtle ways life is guiding us toward what we need. These connections don't always present themselves in the way we expect. They don't always look perfect at first glance. But there is something deeper at work, something beyond our initial understanding, that keeps drawing these connections back into our lives. Sometimes life works in such a way that it doesn't give us what we want immediately. Instead, it places us in situations where we're forced to face our fears, to overcome barriers, or to grow in ways we weren't expecting. These challenges often serve as the catalyst that ultimately leads us to the people who will shape our lives in the most profound ways. And these people, these relationships, seem to have a way of circling back into our lives when the time is right, often when we've done the inner work needed to truly be open to them. What's powerful about these inevitable connections is how they evolve. They don't remain static, they grow with us. The first time you meet someone, the connection may feel casual, but over time it becomes clear that this person has a role in your life. What began as a fleeting moment gradually turns into something much deeper as both of you change, mature, and develop. It's as if these connections were always meant to deepen, but only at a pace that aligns with your growth. Even when life throws obstacles your way, these relationships persist. They bend, they stretch, they may even feel distant at times, but they don't break. They are resilient because they are rooted in something more meaningful than what we often allow ourselves to see. These connections don't disappear because you don't act on them right away. They don't fade because of distance or timing. They remain because they are fundamental to the story you are meant to live, part of the journey that life is quietly unfolding for you. And when you recognize these connections for what they truly are, you see that they were never about the timing or the circumstances at all. They were always about alignment. These relationships were meant to intersect with your life when you were ready to fully understand their importance, to appreciate their depth, and to recognize that they are a part of the bigger picture you've been working toward all along. Life won't let them slip away because they are too essential, too transformative, and too necessary for the path you are on. The most profound connections in our lives don't always happen when we're expecting them. Often they emerge when we least anticipate it, when we're focused on something entirely different, or when we're uncertain about the direction of our own journey. These connections are not the ones we chase or force, they are the ones that seem to come out of nowhere, as if the universe had orchestrated a perfect moment for them to enter our lives. And yet, despite their seemingly random appearance, there is a deeper truth they were meant to be. The people who become an essential part of your life, the ones you keep coming back to, have a way of finding their place in your story, even when it seems like the timing is all wrong. You might meet them at a time when you're in transition or when you're not ready to invest emotionally. Life, however, has a unique way of bringing these connections back around time and time again so that you can't ignore them, no matter how much you might want to. They are not a fleeting presence, but a consistent thread in your life's fabric. These recurring connections often follow a rhythm that can only be understood in retrospect. It's only when you look back years later that you realize how much these people have shaped who you are today. At the time, you may not have recognized the importance of what was happening, but now, looking back, you understand that these connections were part of your personal growth, your evolution, and even your healing. They helped you become the person you were meant to be. What's fascinating about these kinds of relationships is how they seem to move in cycles. They may not always be constant, but they appear at the right moments, when you need them most. They may enter your life at one point, and then disappear for a while, only to come back when the time is right. They challenge you, teach you, and sometimes even push you to grow in ways you wouldn't have expected. And every time they reappear, you realize that you're different, that you've changed, and that the connection has deepened. In these moments, life asks us to lean into the unknown, to embrace the uncertainty of what these connections might bring. They force us to confront our own vulnerabilities, our own fears, and our own limitations. And when we rise to meet them, we begin to see the magic of what they really offer, a sense of purpose, a reminder that we're not alone in our journey, and a profound connection that persists, regardless of time or distance. These relationships aren't about timing. They're about alignment, about the universe's ability to bring people together at the exact right moment, when they are ready to play their part in each other's lives. Some of the most important relationships we have are not defined by the immediate connection we feel, but by how they evolve over time. These relationships often begin quietly, with no dramatic entrance or immediate spark. They may not seem particularly significant at first, but they begin to show their importance as life unfolds. It's only through the passage of time and the accumulation of shared experiences that the depth of these connections reveals itself. What starts off as a casual acquaintance or a passing encounter often becomes something far more profound as both people grow and change alongside one another. The beauty of these relationships is their resilience. They're not dependent on perfect moments or unshakable circumstances. Instead, they withstand the tests of time and the challenges that life throws their way. These connections are built on a foundation that transcends fleeting emotions or temporary situations. They are rooted in mutual understanding, trust, and a shared history that no amount of time or distance can erase. Even when life pulls you in different directions, there's an unspoken certainty that these connections will remain, waiting for the right moment to reemerge and continue evolving. As these connections mature, they often take on new dimensions. What was once a simple friendship might deepen into something more meaningful, or what was initially a brief encounter might turn into a lifelong bond. These relationships are marked by their ability to adapt to change, to grow with both individuals, and to meet each other where they are in their own journeys. There is an unspoken understanding that no matter where you are in life, this person will be there offering support, guidance, or companionship when you need it most. What's striking about these evolving connections is how they often come to define significant chapters of your life. They become integral parts of your story, shaping the choices you make, the way you see the world, and even the way you see yourself. These relationships don't demand anything of you except authenticity. They allow you to show up as your true self with all your flaws, strengths, and vulnerabilities. In return, they offer a sense of stability, a constant reminder that there are people who truly understand you and who will remain by your side as you continue to grow and change. Over time, these connections have the power to heal, to support, and to push you toward becoming the person you were always meant to be. They are often the ones that you can return to, no matter how much time has passed, knowing that they will always be there, anchored in the shared experiences that have shaped the bond between you. And even when life gets complicated or you find yourself lost, these relationships remind you that you are never truly alone, that these people who have been with you through it all are there to help guide you through whatever comes next. In the end, we come to realize that life's most meaningful connections don't always happen when we expect them or in the ways we imagine. They aren't about perfect timing or flawless moments. They are about the unspoken bond that quietly weaves its way through the fabric of our lives, growing stronger with each passing day. These connections persist, reappearing at crucial moments, teaching us, challenging us, and shaping who we are along the way. And as these connections continue to evolve, they remind us that the people we are meant to be with will always find their way back to us, no matter the distance, the time, or the challenges we face. They are not just a part of our journey, they are the very force that helps us move forward, and they will remain with us until we've fully embraced what was always meant to be. In the end, we can trust that everything is falling into place because these connections, inevitable, unshakable, and transformative, are the ones that will keep us moving forward together.